Welcome to Inside the China Room, your premier destination for insights into Chinese current events. This podcast is recorded in China and features interviews with experts from various trending sectors. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe. On September the 19th, China's State Council Information Office released a white paper, Advancement of Women's Development. The release came ahead of the Global Leaders Meeting on Women, which will be held in Beijing this October. The paper highlights that in today's world, promoting gender equality and women's well-rounded development brings both fresh opportunities and major challenges. Back in 1995, Beijing hosted the Fourth World Conference on Women. The Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action adopted there became a milestone in the global drive toward gender equality. 30 years on, how far has China come in ensuring women's well-rounded development? What progress has been made in advancing gender equality? And in the face of a declining birth rate and an aging population, what new challenges lie ahead for a country that has made gender equality a fundamental state policy? To help us explore these questions, I'm joined today by Professor Song Yueping from the School of Population and Health at Renmin University of China. Professor Song is Vice Chair of the Gender Sociology Committee of the Chinese Sociological Association and serves on the boards of both the Chinese Population Association and the Chinese Women's Research Society. Her primary research areas include population mobility, health and hygiene, and China's labor market. She has led multiple key national social science projects, as well as studies commissioned by the Ministry of Education, the National Health Commission, and the National Working Committee on Children and Women under the State Council. She also brings international experience as an equality expert for the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. Hi, Professor Song. Welcome to Inside the China Room.
Hi, Zhenjiang. And thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thank you. Before we dive into today's topic, would you like to tell everyone a little bit more about yourself?
Everyone here. I'm very happy and also very honored to join this program. And just as Zhenjiang mentioned, I'm now teaching at Renmin University of China. And my research explores how, just as you said, demographic change or in other words, population change, health policies and the labor market dynamics interact with gender. So, I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to participate in several national projects and to provide advices to organizations just like the World Bank and ADB. So I think that what pushed me or motivated me is understanding how policy can enable everyone, especially women, to realize their own potential and to contribute to society.
Thank you. Again, very happy to have you today because our topic today is about women and it connects to lots of aspects of society. We know that China often highlights gender equality as a basic national policy. Since Beijing hosted the Fourth World Conference on Women in 1995, 30 years have passed. From your point of view, how would you assess the current situation of women's rights and opportunities in China?
Oh, wow. That's a very general question, right? So I think that the past 3 decades have truly been very important and very transformative for women in China. It's remarkable as you could find how the comprehensive legal especially the legal framework has been established. That just as the Constitution and also, there are many laws on the protection of women's rights and interests. Also, it is supported by over 100 related laws and regulations. Maybe 2 years ago, the recent updates of the laws has been particularly meaningful because it made such kind of a very clear definition. For example, sexual harassment, right? And strengthening the protection against domestic violence against women, especially. So this kind of landmark, like the Civil Code and the anti-domestic violence laws about 10 years ago, not only provide the legal remedies, but also introduce, I think that the innovative tools like personal safety protection orders for women. So another aspect is education. Just as the white paper said, the highlight, the female students now make up over half of the all enrollments in higher education now in China. It means that it's outnumbered of the male counterparts. This is a very significant leap from the 1990s. 3 decades ago. So this kind of expansion of access has truly opened the doors for women to pursue their diverse personal or professional paths. So the third one is the employment, or maybe in another term, workplace. We've seen groundbreaking participation rates of the women. So China now actually has one of the world's highest female labor force participation rate, with women comprising about 43% of the total employed population. And what's more, they also represent almost 43% of the employees in public sector, including the government agencies, public institutions, and state-owned enterprises, something like that. So another one is the political participation. Tells actually a very similar story. Women now account for 26.5% of the NPC delegates in China. So and almost 1/3 of the Communist Party membership are women. So this progress has led to a growing numbers of women in leadership positions across sectors. Though they still, need to get more, right, in certain areas. So that means that some challenges still remain, particularly around the traditional expectations concerning marriage, family, and gender roles. Many women continue to, they have to take the dual pressures, dual burdens of the career and family responsibilities. So the good news is that we are seeing stronger policy support for working mothers emerging across the country, right? Another one, I have to mention is the health status. Women's life expectancy now has reached more than 80 years. So, and access to health education and basic health services now nearly universal. That every woman have access to those kind of services now. That when we speak about the gender equality or the progress in gender equality, in China, they aren't just as a concept. Actually, they are tangible progress toward the gender equality now, today in China. So I think that, we still need to do more.
Yeah, I think you give a very comprehensive answers to my very broad question. You touch a lot of points like the legislation for women and also women's participation in the process of legislation, which is NPC. And you also mentioned about like the health, the education rate, and many other important factors. I think we will touch them by details maybe later. One interesting figures you just mentioned that I'm particularly interested in is the women's their education rate. I think in 2024, female students in institutions made up like 40% of the total, up 14 percentage points from 1995. And among them, female graduate students accounted for about 50%, an increase of about 22 percentage points from 1995. So that's a huge increase. I believe we can say that China now has one of the highest participation rates of women in higher education globally.
Yeah.
So how has this influenced women's career path and the social mobility in China over the past 2 decades? I believe you also just mentioned that nowadays we have many women who has to work and at the same time also have to take care of the children, take care of the family. So how does the higher education rate influence women's career path and social mobility in China?
Well, the progress or the increase in women's participation in higher education, I think that it's very important and a key factor, for both women, but also society, the social development. More women are now they can pursue their advanced degrees in various fields such as science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We could as STEM, right? Not only the STEM, but also just like medicine. So we have Yuyu, right? And laws and business. Actually, for instance, now I currently supervise about 10 graduate students. 10 master and doctor students. And only two of them are male, a boy.
Oh, okay.
Are boys, right? This means that the progress in education attainment of the women has opened up new career paths that were once predominantly male-dominated, we could say. For example, actually, there's another figure. A woman represents 46% of all scientific researchers in China. And also, there are 2.85 million female R&D professionals now in China. That also for the education, now China has launched various programs and also some kind of the STEM girl programs to cultivate women's girls' interest in STEM. Additionally, for the adults, the vocational education and the lifelong learning have become more accessible. Now women account for almost half of the higher vocational students now in China. So those kind of increased access to higher education, especially in the tech area, has significantly enhanced the women's social mobility. Just as you said, the social mobility, maybe we can call it as a kind of promotion, right? So women are no longer limited to their traditional roles and are now making significant, substantial contributions to sectors that drive the economy. For example, in fields like artificial intelligence and digital economy and biotechnology, now we are seeing a growing number of women, not only as employees, but also as the boss, as the entrepreneurs and leaders. They are no longer peripheral, they become the drivers, the core, together with their male counterparts. We can find many examples in China, just as I said, such as the Nobel laureate Yuyu, right? Whose discovery of the medicine, I could not say name in English, saves millions of lives. And also, we have seen very female role models, just like the astronauts Wang Yaping, Liu Yang in China, right? So the policy is also in.
By the way, I think you yourself also a model. Example of this.
Very much. So policies also encourage women's entrepreneurship because now I'm doing kind of projects together with All China Women's Federation. So I know that over 8.4 million women have received entrepreneur loans to run their own business. There's another figure. Women account for more than half of the country's internet sector setup enterprises.
Oh.
That the internet-related enterprises boss, more than half of them are women. So you could find that the access to higher education, actually they open the doors for those kind of the women for their own life, and they find so much opportunities in the real life, right? Furthermore, the higher education also plays a very key role, a crucial role in improving their own independence. There's another aspect, right? Fostering their own critical thinking and empowering them to advocate for their own rights. So but still there are some things we have to do more in terms of like breaking the glass ceilings in workplace to help them to get more opportunities for their own development.
Yeah, I think you mentioned about like the education rate actually helps them open doors for lots of women, give them opportunities in Korea. And I'm also surprised to know that the bosses of startup, like 50% of them are female. I myself know many, female entrepreneurs who start their own company, but I didn't know that the rate was that high. But you remind me, actually, I can see that around me there. I know many female startup entrepreneurs, and I think that makes sense. And that's a huge achievement. But on the other side, we also know that in China, traditional expectations about marriage, about family remain pervasive. And I think these expectations are also influence women's choices in careers, childbearing, and even leadership roles, as you just mentioned. So what efforts has China, the Chinese government, made in terms of policies to ease the burden of childcare, the pressure of childcare on women, and protect women's rights on work? I think you mentioned about several important laws, like in recent years. I'm wondering, what are the most significant law pieces, or the one that you think are most influential in ease the burden of women's pressure on family or on childcare?
Yeah, it's a very how could I say, central dilemma in the discussion on the gender equality when we take these for their own burdens. Actually, we can quote as dual burdens, right? This problem is not only in China but all over the world.
Sure.
Yeah, we have to face, especially in the discussion on gender equality. I think that in China, we have made how could I say, multi-layered effort to address this problem. I recognize that supporting women in the workforce is both an economic imperative but also a social goal. So for the key policy efforts, I want to, maybe I can see it from several aspects. First, that there has been a very significant expansion of the social security in China. The social security system, a universal social security system. And this system is now acts as a very important and also get stronger and stronger safety net for both women and men. For instance, hundreds of millions of the women are now covered by the basic pension system scheme. And crucially, the enrollment in unemployment and the maternity insurance has also increased very much. So the coverage has been extended to include not only those employed ones, but also those maybe we could call it as self-employed or flexibly employed. There's a term 灵活就业 in China, and also even some employed women, ensuring that having a child does not mean losing the essential income support. That's very important to alleviate the burden in economic terms. And another, we also witnessed a major push to build up the care, especially not only for the child care, but also for the elder care infrastructure. To get social support for them. The government is now actively supporting the creation of more affordable child care facilities and piloting. You see, this year we have the free preschool programs in China. Another one is the concept of such kind of the 15-minute life circle is being promoted in everywhere, especially in the urban cities, aiming to make essential services like the child care and health care accessible within a short walk from home in 15 minutes. So this means a kind of improvement in the accessibility of those kind of facilities to families. We could as a kind of family-friendly society. Vast network of over more than 3,000 maternal and child health institutions provide services across a woman. Also, basically for the woman, their life circle with such facilities like the telemedicine, helping to bridge the urban-rural gap. that means that the women in the rural area, they can get access to high quality medical services through internet, through medicine, something like that. Also, there is a concerted drive to create, just as I said, not only the family-friendly society, but also the family-friendly workplaces. Those involves encouraging the employers, the firms, to offer flexible working hours, remote work options, and on-site nursing facilities. Now,
I think some companies are doing that, like the state ship, like the Xiechen, because I think Liang Jianzhao is very well, how to say, I mean, he's a pioneer in doing like experiments on this, allowing female to work, I mean, sometimes work from home.
Yeah, definitely this year. So in recent years. And also for the legislation, I think that amendments to the labor law and also civil code and the law on the protection of the women's rights and has been very crucial. Those kind of laws now explicitly prohibit gender discrimination in recruitment, mandate equal pay for equal work, and provide clear legal remedies against the workplace's sexual harassment, some kind of that. So these also been a very important and a structure crackdown on the illegal dismissal of the pregnant or breastfeeding employees in China. So yeah, we can see, how could I say, we can see those kind of improvements, those kind of achievements, but some challenges I think that still persist. One of the important and the primary issue is the, how could I say, the uneven implementation, the availability of the high quality, affordable childcare and strict enforcement of those kind of, just like the anti-discrimination laws, can vary dramatically between, say, a major tech firm in Shanghai and a small-scale private enterprise in a smaller inland city, right?
Understand.
So, and another one is that the rural women in particular may still lack enough access to the supportive infrastructure available in, just like that in urban centers. So I think that but look ahead. The path toward, I mean, the future requires a dual approach. I think that continue to strengthen the policy enforcement and expand affordable services, right, while simultaneously running public campaigns to encourage a more equitable sharing of family responsibilities between men and women. So that's what I want to mention.
Yeah. Terrific. I have a small question. I was actually in Europe a week ago, and I also learned some policies specifically for maternity leave for women and for male, the 产假. So in some European countries, I heard that people can even give their maternity leave to other individuals, to give it to other peoples, to let them to use their maternity leave. So I think there's a high flexibility.
Between father and mother?
No, between different people, like my family, your family, third family, like, you know, it can be given to other people. So I think that creates a more flexibility and allocation of resources in a very efficient way. That I'm a little surprised to know that. But my question was actually about, like, because some of my friends, they were wondering whether it was possible to let male workers in China to enjoy the same length of maternity leave as female, as their wives. So
now in China, maybe in most of the provinces now, the male can have their paternal leave for about half a month.
Half a month?
Yeah, half a month. They are encouraged to apply for their paternal leave. I know that in several countries, in European countries, just like maybe in German, the father are required to have paternal leave for about 2 months.
Wow, that's very long.
Yeah.
Comparing to us, right?
Because the total maternal and paternal leave they add up to 14 months. Yeah.
Altogether 14 months.
Yeah, altogether. So I think that that will be an efficient or very effective way to promote women and men to share their family, to share their baby care responsibility together.
So how far away does China, can reach to that type of level of
I think we still have to, but actually, the change is much. It's very quick in China. In the past maybe 3 or 4 years, you see the maternal leave has extended from 98 days to 158 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that maybe in several years, we can see those kind of change.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to that because I think that will actually help promote the gender equality, especially in hiring people, right? When people want to find jobs, well, the employers will consider about that.
But actually, the most important thing is the change of the mind. Yeah. So we had to do something to encourage, not only to encourage, but also to cultivate those kind of ideas from my own opinion, that to promote that the men have to share the family care, the domestic responsibilities together with women.
I agree with that. And on the other hand, I think in the past years, some people say that Chinese women's views on marriage and the relationship has also changed. Well, what was your observation on Chinese women's views on marriage and relationship, and the new trends emerging, and any new trends?
Oh, yeah, this is a very interesting question, right? And I totally agree with you. We are now seeing, but those kind of the change, the shift is truly between generational, right? Young Chinese women today now are we could as redefining what successful or what a fulfilling life looks like. This is profoundly reshaping their attitude toward marriage and also maybe family, right? The most significant change is very clear. It's a clear trend toward the later marriage and childbearing. So unlike their mother generation or father generation, young women today have grown up with unprecedented, I can see that, access to education and their career opportunities. Now, it is now a commonplace for a woman to pursue a master's degree, even a doctor, even a PhD, right? Work abroad or launch her own stuff before even considering marriage. So that's very different. So the personal growth and their personal own development and professional fulfillment have become central life goals. So this is naturally delays. Actually, when we pursue one, then we will neglect another one, right? As for the reason, this kind of shift is driven by greater financial independence and the spread of the individualist, we call it as individualist values, especially now in cities. When this kind of economic autonomy comes a desire for partnership based on equality and mutual respect. So what we are seeking for, or what we those young girls seeking for, is not a traditional husband, right? So they want to find someone to maybe they could communicate with each other, get their spiritual support.
Someone who can appreciate their in their ability, their success in their.
And another one is the mutual respect. They want a kind of a relationship with very equal. So
equal status in their marriage relationship.
Usually reflect in the rise of the, maybe we call it as the dual career couples, right? And also maybe together share the financial and domestic responsibilities together. So this is a growing acceptance of diverse family norms, including some kind of the how could I say, controls singlehood and cohabitation. The society, it changed a lot and very fast. Also, simultaneously, the social media has become, you see, vibrant space.
You're talking about like the 小红书, right? The Weibo.
Yeah, vibrant spaces when this kind of ideas, we can call it as the new ideas, are debated and normalized. Young women are actively challenging traditional expectations. That they advocate for equal responsibility of housework, and many are rejecting the outdated notion that marriage is a woman's primary achievement in life, something like that, or man as breadwinner, woman as housekeeper, something like that. But another aspect I want to say is that it is this isn't a kind of total rejection of the family itself. Family remains deeply valued in Chinese culture. According to my own research and according to several national representative surveys. The difference is that the ideal has evolved. The focus is now on building a collaborative partnership grounded in shared aspirations rather than adhering to rigid traditional roles. So that what we have to change, maybe not the young girls, right? But also those kind of social norms, and how could I say it? Those kind of institutions have to be changed. So in summary, those kind of change is toward greater individuality, equality, and personal choices. While family remains important, the pathways to a meaningful life to Chinese women is now wider and more diverse. I think that it is what we have not seen before.
So Chinese people still value families a lot, according to your research and observation. But how to summarize? The dynamics of people's relationship in marriage and the expectation about the quality and the factors in constituting of marriage has been updated or changed because
one survey last year in China, we find that when we asked one question, if you totally disagree with the marriage and with the family, so only less than 1% of the interviewees, they say yes. Some things have to be changed to adapt to those kind of ideal.
Understand. Another question I want to ask you is that, in China's public discourse, how does the definition and understanding of feminism differ from the Western perspective? You have talked about like the social media. Social media's influence on public. I believe there are also some talks about feminism on Chinese social media platform, not just only in Chinese social media platform, but also in society.
You mean the definition of feminism, right?
Yeah, compared to the Western.
Maybe I want to express this question from another perspective. When we see the Western feminism, actually, I think that we usually mean a tradition that puts individual rights front and center, and often frame progress as pushing back against the patriarchal structure, right? But in China, I think that when we see the feminism, there's a kind of different, because it grew inside a socialist context. Actually, since the founding of the People's Republic of China, gender equality. I mean, in 1969, gender equality has been written into state ideology and.
You mean 1949 or 96?
Sorry,
1949. Okay.
Yeah.
Since okay.
So the conversation naturally leans toward collective progress, social development, and national development also. I mean that maybe in another word, rather than casting men and women as opponents, the mainstream Chinese view stresses is that both women and men build the family and the nation together. So that is a very fundamental difference. But that does not mean that Chinese women accept inequality. It means that the strategy is the policy-driven and institution-focused. For example, the feminist advocates work through laws, plans, and public institutions to change real-life conditions. For example, the anti-domestic violence law, the gender equality reviews in policymaking, right? First, and expanding the parental leave and childcare services in many provinces. These aren't just slogans, they shape budgets, workplace roles, and the service communities receive those kind of budget to promote the environment. Something like that. While the Western feminism, in my point of view, often starts with the rights of the individual and asks, how do I claim for them? But in China, the feminism often starts with the needs of society and asks what policies will lift outcomes for women and families can benefit women and families at first. We often hear more targeted programs, such kind of scholarships for girls from rural areas, and the legal aid hotlines for women, and the digital skills training that helps women start e-commerce business, right? Because those are levers. I mean that the states and social organizations can put quickly and widely. If you comparing those kind of two approaches, I mean that the goal may be the same, similar. Both Western feminism and Chinese feminism, they want to achieve the gender equality, but the roots are different. Western traditions often mobilize from the street to the courtrooms, right? The Chinese emphasize from policy to practice, using rules, 5-year plans, and nationwide programs to make everyday life safer and fairer for women. In those kind of contexts, feminism isn't import the label. It's part of building a modern socialist society where women and men advance together. And real progress is measured by the real protections, services, and opportunities women can count on.
I mean, in practice, we can see that China is more policy-oriented, or China policy initiated feminism, or to help women, while the in Western countries maybe more like individually initiated efforts on promoting that idea or practice that idea. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. And if we want to compare China's progress on gender equality with some other major East Asian nations, maybe that's more apple to apple. I'm not sure. What stands out most? In which areas China is leading comparing to other major Eastern Asian nations, and where there is still room for improvement?
When we look at China's progress compared to Eastern Asian societies, just like Japan and Korea, some things really stands out. First, maybe we can take an example of the workforce involvement. The Chinese women's participation at one of the highest rates globally. Now it's around 60%, which is not really higher countries like Japan and South Korea. This isn't just about the employment numbers. It shows that Chinese women are actively driving the growth, especially when we take the structure, I mean the employment structure, you could find that women account for a big number in the dynamic sectors like technology and e-commerce. And so this is totally different from the situations in Japan and also in Korea. Yeah. So as a result, if you could find the figures just like the gender gap, I mean the wage gender gap, you could also find that China stands for I mean the wage gender gap in China is about the smallest one compared with Japan and also South Korea. And as tip for the education, just as you said, the women now make up more than half of the all college students in China. Actually, since 1915, 2015 in China, women students, I mean the female students, outnumbered their male counterparts at college level or the graduate level. I've got, and there's increasingly outperforming men in university enrollments. I mean, so in fact, China is among the global leaders in female participation in higher education, and ahead of many. Ahead of the East Asian societies, especially in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields in China. Also, I mean that what's more, the gender equality is not just I said, a slogan here. It established as a fundamental national policy. China has built a strong legal framework, just like, as I said, including the gender equality review mechanism for law. Yeah, this one is very important. We have built a gender equality review mechanism for laws, which is, the Japan and South Korea, they have not had those kind of mechanism now. So also, another one is the political representation. It's also very solid. Over a quarter of the NPC deputies are women now, which is above the global average, and is far, higher than that in Japan and also in South Korea. And I think that now in China, those percentage is also comparable to UK and Canada now. So at local levels, women made up 1/3 of the legislative bodies. So that means that we have a very fast advancement in those kind of progress. But when we see from another aspect for what we have not do so well, the woman remains underrepresented in top corporate roles and the highest government office. So the gender pay gap, it persists, just as I said. So I think that compared with our neighbors, the women's, how could I say, women's representation in the government offices, for the top leaders, and also in the top corporate roles, we have to pay more effort to and also another one is that I think that because China is a very big country, so the rural and the migrant women also continue to face structural barriers. So we have to do more for those kind of population, right? So that's what I want to say.
And in terms of advancing women's well-rounded development in China for the next decade, what do you think should be the top priority? We have discussed today a lot of aspects around like the room for improvement about gender equality in China. But in your own, I'm sure, like as you just suggest, there are lots of female representatives in the National People's Congress, NPC. I'm sure they have their own different opinions about, certain topics on women. What is your opinion on the top priority right now?
Well, looking ahead, I believe that one of the most important goals should be boosting women's participation in leadership roles, whether in government, business, or academia. So we made progress, but we still need more women shaping the decision. I mean, at the decision-making level, at the highest levels, right? This means not only setting clear targets for leadership positions, but also creating a mentorship networks and make sure that talented women have their clear path forward and to make use of their own ability and potentials. And also, at the same time, I think that we cannot ignore the practical barriers that hold women back, especially this is not a China-specific question, but also all around the world. The work-life balance, expanding affordable childcare and elderly care, promoting flexible working conditions, options, and encouraging men to share domestic responsibilities. So they are very essential. Because now in China, because now women, the barriers, I think that it's not only in the, economic term, but the time poverty is a very crucial barriers for the further development. So when women don't have to choose between career and family, between workplace and their home, I think that everyone will benefit. And I think that we also need to keep to closing, to narrow down the gaps in pay and opportunity, particularly in the fast-growing fields, just like technology, high technology, and green energy, something like that, right? So stronger enforcement of equal pay laws the enforcement and more training programs will help make sure women aren't left behind. Another, the basic one, beyond all the policies, is about shaping a culture that values gender equality by continuous education, by social media, and continue to update laws to fight against discrimination. And I think that China can both share its own experience and learn from others internationally through international cooperation and communication that China have done a lot, right? We still have to do something. So finally, if we focus on those kind of areas, I think that we will move closer to a society where they can fully share in the gains of the modernization and the development, and the women's contributions can be recognized, acknowledged, and protected. That's just from my own personal view, I think that we can do better.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I hope so too. I believe that's also part of the reasons we're going to hold the Global Leaders Meeting on Women very soon. Because I think the importance of exchange ideas and learning from each other, as you just suggested, is very important for China as well as for the rest of the world. Before we move to the recommendation section of our podcast, do you have any other thing to add on the women's topic today?
Thank you very much. For me, it's a challenge. So, because I have not speak English for
I consider you haven't used English that very often, speak that very often recent years.
Yeah. Because as a teacher, I write English, but maybe, So for me, it's an opportunity, also a challenge, and it was a pressure to talk about those very important and interesting topics I hope that the discussion can help everyone, the listeners, appreciate the progress in China. And I hope that everyone can appreciate the progress China has made. And hope everyone have a good time.
Of course, I mean, I invite you and you promised me to come to my show and bravely speak in English to share so many great ideas and observations, even though you haven't speak English in public a very long time. I think that is also a great example of Chinese females' presence in global voice. Yeah, I'm confident to see that. So we invite every guest of our podcast to recommend something to our listeners. It actually can be anything. It can be books, movie, or food, TV series, anything. I mean, do you have any particular thing to recommend for our listeners today?
Actually, if everyone looking for a piece of work that really highlights the progress of the Chinese woman, I think that I will recommend one TV series, a TV show called in Chinese 欢乐颂.
Okay, I've watched the first series.
Right?
Yeah, first season of that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it very much. It's a modern urban drama that follows the lives maybe 5 women living in Shanghai. Yeah.
First season, there are mainly 3 characters.
Three, maybe 3.
Maybe later in second season, because I didn't watch the second season. Maybe there are more characters joined in the show, right?
Fascinating. So each from different backgrounds and dealing with the career challenges, family expectations, friendship and love, right? And so I think that what makes it very special is how it reflects the evolving status and the inner growth of the nowadays Chinese woman. The show doesn't shy away from the real issues like workplace discrimination, marriage pressure, and the family burdens, and the traditional, stereotypes, right? But it's also emphasis on women's solidarity, resilience, friendship, and self-reliance. So I think that it's inspiring for me and gives vibrant pictures of how Chinese women are carrying out their spaces in a fast Chinese society, but not only just the city they are waiting for change, but by driving it themselves. So if you want something special and also entertaining and meaningful, this is a very good pick.
Yeah, I remember different characters face different types of obstacles or challenges in their life and their career. I think that's also highly related to the general picture of females' development in China. And actually, a previous guest of my show recommended a movie called 好东西 in Chinese. In English, it's called Her Story. I don't know if you have watched that movie. What's your opinion on that? Because that's also a very popular movie in recent years in China.
Actually, I heard of 好东西, but I have not.
No, it's okay.
I will watch that movie. Maybe after your recommendation.
Yeah. I have watched that movie because lots of people like that, but there are also some debate about that in China. But I think that's also a reflection of public's interest in talking about female-related topics in China. Because you mentioned China is a very fast developing society. There are always new challenges, new opportunities. Thank you so much, Professor Song. Thank you for sharing so many great insights with us today. I hope maybe in the future we can talk about the women's topic or other social topic or in another opportunity. So, thank you so much for joining my show. And I really appreciate it.
And it's a good time for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Inside the China Room podcast. For cooperation, investing, or feedback, you can email me directly at jjiang.sisu@hotmail.com. Alternatively, please consider leaving a rating and a review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or Substack. If you find our podcast helpful, we would be delighted if you recommend it to others. See you next time and take care.